The inquest into the Newcastle earthquake sought to establish the facts surrounding 13 deaths. The State Coroner's task was complicated by grave allegations that police bungled rescue operations. These claims surfaced when a fire brigade debriefing document was leaked to the media. But today, Kevin Waller dismissed claims that people still alive were abandoned in the rubble. He said the decisions by rescue services were taken on good grounds. No life was lost which could have been saved. Mr Waller expressed disappointment that the leaked fire brigade document presented rescuers in an unfavourable light. The erstwhile heroes were made to appear petty squabblers. But at the conclusion of proceedings today, rescue chiefs predicted a harmonious future.
Do you think the fences have been mended now?
I'm quite sure they have, yes, good as gold. No worries anymore.
We're quite pleased with the findings. We believe that it's a very rational decision, and we're right behind what he said.
The coroner made 3 formal recommendations. The Australian Earthquake Code should be revised for Newcastle. Engineering and architecture courses should include earthquakes and their effects. And finally, that local council engineers advise on the structural integrity of buildings at disaster sites. While he declined to make special commendations for bravery, the coroner praised all the rescue services, Workers' Club employees and civilians. Mr Waller made it clear today that allegations of negligence of Newcastle City Council were outside his jurisdiction.
A mere allegation that a council didn't do something in 1970 is not something the coroner would normally attend to, and I didn't.
In your own mind, are you satisfied that there was no negligence involved in this earthquake?
Well, I can't say. This is what the coroner shouldn't say that, because it's not my place to influence a jury, perhaps at a later common law hearing.
Newcastle is overflowing with garbage. According to the council, the Shortland tip has only another 2 years of life, and so the old Walls End borehole colliery has been purchased as its replacement. 2 public meetings were called by council to announce the move, and on June 12th the new site was approved. At the meeting tonight, residents claimed they've been tricked. While the new site is actually in Maryland, the council has called the tip the Summer Hill site. According to the locals, they didn't realise it was in their own backyard.
I've spoken to people in my area and they wouldn't have had a clue where Summerhill was.
The protesters say council must find a better site away from residential areas. They've called for a complete environmental impact study to check the development.
Outside Sydney, our region is the most popular destination in the state for domestic tourists. Last year they stayed 6.7 million nights. However, according to the Baillieu Knight Frank report released at Salamander today, interstate and international visitors are only just discovering what the Hunter has to offer.
We are attracting the overseas tourist and generally we believe that the Hunter has a lot to offer with the backdrop of the vineyards in the hinterland and the beaches and lakes on the coast.
The report found the major deterrent to tourists is the lack of efficient and convenient transport. Although the Sydney to Newcastle road link has improved, most interstate and international tourists have to depend on the already overcrowded Sydney airport. The report backs a Newcastle Chamber of Commerce call for the Williamtown Airport, now shared with the Air Force, to become a major domestic terminal. It's estimated more than 50 tourist developments in the Hunter region are either under construction or in the planning stage. If they go ahead and if accessibility to the region is improved, the tourism dollar will flow in. Last year, $393 million was spent by tourists. That can only increase, bringing with it greater employment.
Last year, the tourism industry Australia-wide produced 21,000 new jobs. And if you take that into a regional size and identify unemployment in the Hunter region, then obviously it will attract employment in the industry.
Although the Strata title leasehold system was legalised in New South Wales 4 years ago, this is the first time it has been introduced. Of its 118 Strata leases, the Black Marina has sold 43. With prices reaching $70,000 for a 20-year lease, the patch of water doesn't come cheaply. But according to Les Lane of the Marina, it's far more secure than renting.
And it offers the owner of the berth security for the period of the lease, which is 20 years, versus at the moment a long-term rent, say, held by a boat owner, offers no security at all, because if the company from who he paid the rent to fell over, went broke, he would lose his security of tenure.
Once purchased, the leasehold can be resold, the berth rented out, or even a mortgage raised against it. It's basically real estate on water. Once all the current berths are sold, another 90 are planned. Work on the third arm is expected to begin in April next year. When all is complete, Nelson Bay will have a marina to rival those in Sydney.
Well, I guess I started in a school band, playing the cornet brass band at school, and I got hooked on it, and started working in nightclubs actually when I was 13, backing the acts, playing the dance music, and one thing led to another. I really never considered anything else.
At the age of 27, James Morrison is regarded as a musical genius. He can play more than 17 different types of instruments, but he's most famous for blowing his own trumpet. On the road with his band and his former Miss Australia wife Judy Green, Morrison has a demanding round of Australian and international concerts, meeting and playing with his heroes like Don Burrows and George Benson.
I've met all my idols and played with them, which is great. I've met my record collection, which is not all of them. I'm about to go on a tour next month where I get to meet a couple of them, and that's Ray Charles and B.B. King, which I'm looking forward to enormously. I'm happy to say that tour's coming to Australia too.
"27-year-old James Morrison has been blowing his own trumpet most of his life. He found a love for Dixieland music at his local school in Burrawa near Yass. By the age of 13, with a family move to Sydney, he was playing in nightclubs.
What did the other kids at school think of James Morrison?
I don't really know. That's a good question. Oh, they probably thought I was a little bit weird, but especially being into jazz, which of course wasn't what everyone when I went to school was into Eagle Rock.
But James was no Eagle rocker. His roots were firmly based in jazz. By the age of 16, he was determined to make music his career through the good and the bad times.
Was the stage where you were the starving young artist?
Oh, sure, yeah, I've done a bit of that, yeah, and especially when I went overseas for the first time, I was already, moderately successful here, and then went to New York and couldn't get a job and ended up busking on the street, my brother and I, to make a meal.
Well, how much money did you make on the streets?
We did real well. We thought we'd just get enough for the subway fare home. We went out to dinner, went to a movie, and then we're broke again.
Helping James through have been the other passions in his life. An admitted adrenaline addict, James and his brother climb mountains, fly small planes and race motor cars. It was at a car race that he met his wife Judy, a former Miss Australia. They were married 2 years ago. James Morrison's life seems to be that of a fairy tale. His heroes are his friends. Travelling the world, he performs with jazz greats the likes of Dizzy Gillespie and George Benson.
I've met all my idols and played with them, which is great. I've met my record collection, which is not all of them. I'm about to go on a tour next month where I get to meet a couple of them, and that's Ray Charles and B.B. King, which I'm looking forward to enormously. I'm happy to say that tour's coming to Australia too.
While the constant grind of travelling and recording can be hard work, James Morrison's greatest thrill is still sharing his talents with an audience.
How many instruments can you play?
I don't really know. I play all the brass and reeds and piano and bass and whatever I can get my hands on. On my latest album I'm playing 17, so that's enough.
The population of Stroud doubles on the day of the competition, with people coming from all over the valley. Indeed, there is international interest, with Stroud in England and Canada also running their own events on the same day. While the festival activities keep some of the tourists involved, the real action is in centre ring.
There are other people that throw cow pats, there are other people that throw bottles, and we've stuck to rolling pin and brick throwing. I think it's pretty unique.
For some throwers it's just too easy. Others are all style and swing but not much substance. Some are just hopeless. The record is double that distance, a mammoth 36 metres. The rolling pin record is 40 metres.
Why do you do this?
For the fun of it, and it's something entirely different. You don't get to throw a rolling pin every day.
At a fiery meeting yesterday, hospital workers were calling for heads.
Well, I'd like to see the people responsible held accountable for it anyway.
In what form?
Well, sacked, I suppose.
A report by the Occupational Health and Safety Service dated September 88 labelled more than 48 sections of the hospital's maintenance areas as unsafe due to asbestos contamination. Executive Officer at the hospital, Stephen Batts, took his position a year after the report was presented and says he had no knowledge of it.
Why didn't you know about it?
Good question. It wasn't on the files. I believe that 2 copies were received in the hospital in 1998, and I want to find out what should be done in the future.
Mr Batts has instigated a full independent legal inquiry to dig out any reasons for the cover-up, with an agenda to check any health risks to employees. Until that inquiry presents its findings, Mr Batts says there will be no sackings.
Into the competition. This is just to the left of the uprights, a handy position. And he's made no mistake. The roar goes up. The first points are on the board and Newcastle lead 2-0. Manly have shown themselves to be a pretty good team at Brookvale this season, but a little shakier in recent times away from home. A fine hit coming in there. Fenner coming at you. There's no let up.
Well, he wants to get over in the corner. This is the same way.
Ridge's kick was touched, but then Miller has knocked it on. And Iro's got the ball. Play on, says the referee. Down the touchline goes Iro. Outside him is Lyons. He couldn't get the pass to him, and Lyons. Bit of pushing there with David Boyd and Martin Bella having a few words. Look at that face of David Boyd. He reminds me of Les Boyd when he gets that snarl on his face.
It's a face only a mother would love.
The ball loose once more. Some sloppy play. There's a fight in the back play between Hosking and Butterfield, the 2 number 10s, trading punches. Well, the fire erupting. Fray. 2 balls on the field. It goes to White and a hit from Glanville. Last week with a shoulder problem. Ridge right in front, raises the flags. All backs are deep and wide. Fulmer. Hagan. Looks outside, comes back, slips the ball away. Racing for the line, it's intercepted though.
Well, just as well, that was
Roberts. A loose ball, Lyons manages to pick it up and gives Tooby some open space. Tooby accelerates, turns the winger around, Tooby through, Hasler inside. Hasler comes to work, pops it for Lydiard.
Physical side, Arthur.
Doyle
There's
shows
no doubt about it. Self-preservation's not in their football dictionary.
Glanville loses it and Hasler has it. There's no one in front of him. Hagan's giving chase, so is Gordon. Hasler down the touchline. Gordon across, he eludes him. Support there, but Glanville intercepts. And the Knights have managed to save it. Gordon looking for his 24th goal of the season. And the crowd tells you the story. Newcastle lead 4 points. Back on the halfway line. He's on his feet. All the kicks in the match have been from a handy position. In comes O'Connor, and he makes no mistake. Hagan comes across field. Boyd stands. Back to Fulmer. Fulmer shows good pace. Acceleration. Fulmer in the clear. Away from one. Steve Fulmer has support inside, and Robbie McCormack will score. That's a great try from Newcastle. Started by Fulmer and Boyd.
Lock forward position. Get him in close to the action because
Fulmer away from dummy half. Glanville coming up in support, but a great tackle from to a 6-point lead. This time he does put it over the black dot. Not a very confident looking. Fulmer, Hagan, long ball for Miller. Crunching tackle from Hiram. It goes wide to Gordon. Gordon steps straight through. Ridge is the only one in front of him. He has support in Doyle. Doyle chased by Williams and he ankle taps him. Lydiard comes. Hagan tried to get rid of the ball. I think he was just desperate to go on with it. Shelford upended by Glenn. Gordon pushes away from Lyons. And Gordon's still going. Very elusive runner.
There was a touch of John Phillips.
Reached back. A line of red and blue jerseys there, and Sam Stewart upends Reed. Ruck. O'Donnell at dummy half. It goes to Iro, and Iro for the line. Just short, inches short. Quick play the ball. O'Donnell in there again. Newcastle moving up quickly out wide. Lyons, Hasler. Hasler back into the ruck. Over the top for Williams. Out it goes to Ridge. Ridge trying to get away from Gordon. He's ridden him over the touchline. Across field. Boyd stands. Back to Fulmer. Fulmer shows good pace. Acceleration. Fulmer in the clear. Away from one. Steve Fulmer has support inside, and Robbie McCormack will score. Faded wide first of all. Got it out to Boyd. He pushes or stands in the tackle of Cunningham. Now Fulmer really does the damage. Away from Tooby into the open spaces. Slips a good tackle or attempted tackle there from Ridge, and back inside. Great support from McCormack. Wasn't that a tremendous...
Backing up is Fulmer. He not only possesses toughness, but he has great speed, beating Tooby there. Iro coming in over the top, not locking the ball up, and McCormack backing up inside. A great try to Newcastle.
Robbie McCormack.
Although the Newcastle Herald Fun Run is seen by many as a healthy and worthwhile way to earn money for local charities, it is fast becoming one of the state's premier long-distance races. This morning, among the sea of competitors that left the foreshore were a number of state and local champions. 10 minutes after the main group left, runners in the shorter 5.3 kilometre race also headed off along Shortland Esplanade. Midway through, the two groups merged, providing some confusion at the finish line. Heading the shorter course runners home was 18-year-old Nathan Brown of Foster. Not far behind him, David Forbes of Wallsend led the main group across the line in a near record time of 28 minutes and 40 seconds. Although David has been out of training for most of the season, he was pleased with his win and confident of his chances in the city to surf in 3 weeks' time.
Oh yeah, these young guys are good competition, but I'm peaking right for the city to surf and in great form and knocked off some of the big names.
In second place was Jason Maxwell with David Rundle third. Carolyn Horn of Sydney was the first woman home, narrowly defeating local girl Joanne Debnan. Cleanaway won the contract to build the liquid waste treatment and recycling plant a year ago. Although it has not announced where it will be located, a document leaked to Newcastle Council suggests BHP-owned land at Mayfield is being considered. Mayfield residents have been vocal in their opposition. Today's public meeting decided to oppose any waste plant in the area, calling on industries that produce toxic waste to dispose of it at the source rather than at a plant. If a waste facility is necessary, then the group believes it should be at least 10 kilometres away from any residential area.
It's going into an area which is already heavily polluted, and we have no need of further pollution in this area. Other objections are that we don't believe that waste disposal sites should be within 10 kilometres of residential areas, and this one is inside of 1 kilometre of major residential areas.
Residents say they are also concerned about the type of waste which will be treated, claiming Cleanaway originally proposed only industrial waste, but it is now considering medical refuse.
Recently, medical waste has become the #1 item on the list. Previously that wasn't even mentioned, and at a public meeting they've also announced that they might dispose of car tyres through this incinerator.
Although Cleanaway is still carrying out an environmental impact study for Mayfield and other unknown areas, the residents hope they will defeat the plant proposal before a development application is lodged with council at the end of the year.